Hi, welcome to another episode of the Out of Office Club. Thank you for listening again this week. I am very excited for this week's topic. I think it's a really good one. Um, this week, I want to talk about the things that I no longer compromise on as a digital nomad, full-time traveler. A lot of these things have always been true for me, but some of them also slightly changed over the years, especially since when I started traveling 10 years ago. I was 18, a backpacker. I traveled very different. And I thought it would be good to talk about the things that I just do not compromise on, that I don't think you should compromise on either if you want to be a digital nomad or if you're living as a digital nomad, because I feel like they really impact your experience. Just to give you some idea of how I manage what I do, what I decide to, compromise on, what I don't compromise on. So first, quick personal recap before I dive into the topic. Third week in Bangkok now, still at the same apartment, which has been really nice. I think the last week actually was really fun and really exciting. I did a lot. I worked a lot. I went to the co-working. So I got a lot of work done. It was Songkran, actually, almost forgot, which is the Thai New Year. And it's also like the biggest water fight in the world. It was amazing. I went on the weekend, there were already a bunch of festivals. I went to one on Saturday, which was really fun. It's just a small festival, but then with water cannons. So you are completely drenched within 5 minutes of walking in. And then you're just dancing in the rain, basically, for the next 6 hours. I loved it. It was really, really fun. And then on Monday, I went onto the street. So that's where the actual water fights happen. So everyone's walking around with a water gun. There's music everywhere. There's stands everywhere with food or drinks or whatever you want. And it's apparently also a tradition to have ice water. So, which is nice because it's also 35 degrees, but it's a shock every time. And there's people walking around with buckets too, so you just get splashed with ice water. But I did that for the whole of Monday, basically. Started at 11, finished at 7 p.m. It was amazing. Definitely a really, really cool and unique experience. So if you ever have the opportunity to be in Thailand during Songkran, take it. 100%. You will not regret it. It is so much fun. Of course, been playing paddle, not as much. And I went on 2 dates. I don't know if you've seen it on my Insta, but that first date was awful. I went on a paddle date. That's my mistake. Should not have done that. I think it's best to not show my competitive side too early. But yeah, I might have smashed a ball straight into my date within 5 minutes. He was not too happy. He could laugh about it. He was nice. He was a fun guy, but that was also the only date. And I went on another date yesterday, which was actually pretty nice. And we're going on a second date soon, in a couple days, which is nice because man has not made it to the second date in a while, or I have not. I don't know. Depends how you look at it. So that's pretty nice. But other than that, no major updates. Just, traveling and working. Oh, I did actually yesterday book something, or not completely booked, but I kind of said yes to something very exciting for June. I won't tell you what it is yet because it's not 100% confirmed and I still have to book my flights and stuff. But of course I have to leave Thailand at the end of May because my visa runs out. I'm just on a normal visa. So I have to leave Bangkok by then. So I was checking what to do after, and I think I found something really cool, which I will share more on when it's more confirmed. You'll probably also see that on my social media, but very, very excited for that. So enough about that. Let's jump in. So I think in general, when you travel, there's always certain choices that you can make. Compromises that you have to make every single day between certain experiences. Everything, of course, costs money, people. There's a lot of choices that you get to make, especially when you travel alone, and they have a big impact on your experience. And I think before I jump into all of this, I think it is always really good to decide what kind of trip or experience you want to have. For example, when I first started traveling, I was backpacking. I wanted the backpack experience. I wanted it to be, you know, cheap, on a budget, simple, and that's the choices that I made. It's also the budget I was on. So there were certain compromises I made, certain things that I did, and that's the experience that I got. I was a backpacker. Right now, I am a digital nomad. I want a different experience. I want more luxury. I want to be more comfortable. I want to have more peace. So because I want different experience, I make different choices. So I think it's good to think about what kind of fits you and what experience you want to have. So I think the main one, especially when we talk about the whole backpacker versus digital nomad part, is that I kind of no longer compromise on my own space. I do occasionally because I have to, but I hate it every single time. And I also often really, really regret it. But I don't stay in hostels anymore, for one. It is not the experience that I want. It is, hostels are great to meet people, but I now find other ways to meet people. Plus, I'm working, I want to sleep well. I want to have my own space where I can do whatever I want. I don't feel watched or judged or have to, consider other people. I can just do whatever I want. It's my own space, and that's important to me. So I no longer compromise on that, and I do always try and find my own space, even if it's just my own room, but in a shared house, like with the co-living, for example. I do quite enjoy that too. It's just the hostels that I really don't want anymore. And of course, it is still traveling. So occasionally I have to stay in a hostel because either everything's booked or it's just ridiculously expensive, or I'm only somewhere for a couple days. And if it's maximum 2 or 3 nights, I'll opt for a hostel occasionally, especially if it's a nice one, if it's in a good location. If I do also want to meet more people. But in general, especially if I'm somewhere for a month, I can't do it. I can't do it. Right now, I'm just too spoiled. I don't need to anymore. I can afford not to, which of course is great. So why would I? I sleep better, I feel better when I have my own space. So I just no longer compromise on that. I also do genuinely feel, which also I think refers back to the last video, where having my own space does make me more productive. It makes me happier. It makes me calmer. It works in my favor in everything else that I do. So why would I compromise on that? I'm more motivated to go and work out because I know when I come back, I can just walk straight into my shower and, not worry about anything. While in a hostel, you need to gather all your stuff and then shower and change in these little booths where everything gets wet, and it's just not great. While now I have the comfort, so I don't mind working out late or early because also I'm not bothering anyone if I shower at 2 a.m. for example. It's these small things, but they do really impact, I think, dating life and overall your mental state. And because I'm doing this long term, that is not something I can or want to compromise on. The next thing that I don't compromise on, which I think I've never done, although I think I'm maybe a bit more aware of it now, is of course safety. And that is, as any solo traveler, safety is important. As a solo female traveler, that is even more important. And that is not really something that I compromise on. So for example, if I have the choice between walking home or taking a bus and spending €5, I'll take the bus. It's safer, it's easier, it's better. I will take that. If it is safer for me to pay an extra €30 for a private transfer somewhere than it is to stand outside and wait for a taxi and probably get ripped off. it's not always such a conscious decision, or that I'm scared, or that something has to happen, or it's just choices that just make more sense, that make it safer, easier. I think those are worth spending money on. They're also worth changing plans for. And what I mean with that is when you book flights, for example, or any other transport, make sure you don't arrive somewhere at 3 a.m. I know that those are the cheapest flights to get or the cheapest buses, but you don't want to arrive somewhere at 3 a.m. and then have to find your way in the dark at night. Pay that little bit extra and arrive during the day. It's those little things that I think, of course, it is safer, but it also makes the trip more comfortable. It makes it better. It makes it easier. You're not on edge and super cautious at all times. It's just worth it for that peace of mind already. Like, I really don't recommend arriving anywhere at night, especially not as a solo traveler, especially not as a woman. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. And I think what goes kind of with that is choosing a good location to stay in. It makes such a difference when your stay, your Airbnb or your hotel, whatever it is, even your hostel, doesn't matter, if it's in a good area. If you feel like that neighborhood is safe and you can walk around peacefully and you're not worried or on edge or struggling. Of course, you don't always have that luxury to choose. I have also traveled to places where, regardless of where I stayed, I had to be cautious, and it was better if I didn't go out by myself. But of course, you prepare for that and you know it and you change your behavior accordingly. But as much as you can, try and find a location where it is as safe as possible, because you don't want to be paranoid every time you walk out of your apartment, or even in your apartment, that you're worried about what's going on around you, or that you don't really want to leave, or that, you know, even going outside to pick up food is an issue. Like, you want to be comfortable. So that is something I don't compromise on either. The location to me is really important. Not that it has to be in the best location or in the city center, but it needs to be safe and preferably close to public transportation, so I can go anywhere quickly. And it's also easy and safe for me to, for example, come back home, even if it's late. That all of that kind of makes it easy and safe. But on top of that location, I think what is important to me is certain habits that I want to have or grow, or, you know, like going to the gym, going to a co-working spot, eating healthy. And those things they're so much easier when you stay in a place that is in the right location. Right now I have a co-working spot really close by, which means I go almost every day, which means I'm more productive, which means my clients are happier, which means I make more money or I get more clients. You know, it all stacks up. I also have a pool, I have a gym, I have everything that I need. I can walk to paddle. It's amazing. Those things make it then really easy to stick to good habits. And that is why location to me is so important. Of course, it's also a little bit of luck. Like, you never really know what you're going to get, but try and make sure that the location that you pick fits the lifestyle that you want, which again, I go into much more depth in on my last video, if you want to have a look. The fourth thing, I do not compromise on experiences. The whole reason to travel is to have experiences. So why would I then compensate on that and not have the experiences that I want? There have been places where I'll probably only go once in my life, or I'm pretty sure I'll never go back there. And I want to experience them as much as I can in those places, and have also the type of experiences again that I want. And sometimes, yes, those cost extra money. But for me, I rather compensate on material things or materialistic things than on experiences. So I, you know, of course, I like clothes. I like getting my nails done. I like buying makeup. I like all those things. But I also don't focus on that as much. It's not my priority. I'd rather spend 100 euros on a really cool tour or experience than I would spending 100 euros on clothes. So I just, I have priorities there. And I guess I just compensate on not looking that put together all the time and not always having the right outfit. And, I don't mind. I don't mind that so much. So I think that is just something I don't compromise on. I want to have certain experiences. I want to experience as much as I can in new countries, see everything, experience the culture, the food, the people. And occasionally or often that costs money. I'll spend it on that and have good experiences and have a great time and have it be arranged or planned for me. Or again, I'm also a lazy traveler. Don't forget, I've been doing this for 10 years. I used to be a lot less lazy, but right now I'll happily pay for an experience. And also, maybe this is also a bit of just how I grew up, but for me, spending a little bit extra to make an experience easier or more enjoyable, that to me is worth it. That to me is worth the investment. I don't want to have it, a struggle. I don't want to have it fall apart halfway because I decided to save 10 euros. I'd rather invest a little bit more and make sure that I have a good time, that it works, that it's worth it. So that to me is worth it. Also, I've cut out, I think, other things that are expensive that to me are not worth it, like drinking. Drinking is expensive. It's bad for you. Ruins my experiences a lot of times, or the next day at least. So I've stopped doing that. I also sleep better, so that helps. But it's good to pick what you can compromise on and what you really cannot, and just pick, And the last thing I think is the right people. So this, I'm still learning, I will say that, but I have become more selective on who I hang out with, who I spend my time with. When traveling, you meet a lot of people, and you also soon realize that a lot of people it's not even that you don't get along with them, but you just know that they're not gonna really improve your experiences. Not to say that they are necessarily bad people, but they don't add to your life. They'll probably take away from it. They'll probably, it's the kind of people that would or could be a bad influence that might keep you from experiencing certain things, that might be quite negative or distract you from what matters. So those are the kind of people that I really try and weed out quicker. I'm still not really good at it, but I'm trying. In the end, people influence your trip so much. I've spoken about this before. I've stayed in or been to some amazing places in amazing countries, and then because I didn't meet any people or didn't really, make that many friends, those countries are not my favorite. I didn't make that many memories. They were fine, but But then I've also stayed in places that were not great, that kind of sucked, that were not that pretty, but because of the people that I met, they became amazing. So people really, really influence your experience in a place and your memories and how much you like or dislike a place. And it's really worth investing time and energy into building good relationships with the right people, even if it is temporary. But also making sure that you get rid of the people that don't add to your experiences. It just happens. And again, it doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that to me, they're not worth investing my time in. They're not going to add to my life. And I'm, going to find other people that do, and that I feel like I can add to their life and they can add to my life. And it's, it's worth it. I don't want to compromise on my time and, again, my experience, and people are a big part of that. So I would say that those are the main things that I no longer compromise on, or sometimes do compromise on. Let me know if you have any questions, if there's any things that I maybe missed, things that you think I should change, or questions that you have, whatever it is, remarks, you name it, let me know. You can either comment wherever it is that you're listening, or you can send me a DM. But don't forget to like and subscribe, because it really helps. Thank you again so much for listening, and then I hope to see you again next week. Bye bye.